It's going to check on the markets this morning. Jack Bouroudjian of Capital Markets Technologies is at the CME. Jim Paulson, Chief Investment Strategist at Wells Capital Management, joins us from his perch. Morning, guys.
Morning.
Jack, so explain the action this morning as it relates to Citi. Is this some sort of reflex rally? Is it shorts getting scared away? What's happening?
Carl, pure short covering. Remember, you saw where the pressure was coming from over the course of the last couple of weeks. Everyone was leaning on Bank of America. Everyone was leaning on Citi. Everybody was in there selling everything that they could. In fact, if you talk to buyers, there was nobody out there making a bid for these stocks. So everybody was pricing in Armageddon. So the fact is that now we've got some news out there that tells us that no, it might not go to zero. And that's why we're getting this little bit of a reflex rally. But let's be very clear. That's exactly what it is. It's nothing more than short covering as of right now.
Jim, on the Citi development alone, to you, is that encouraging because it is not the whole shebang, or is it scary because it's a step in that direction potentially?
Well, about the only good thing for me, my perspective, I think, Carl, is just that we maybe start down the path of some clarity in this thing. I think just letting this hang out here where everyone's talking about nationalizing bank and bankrupting the financial shareholders has just created a run on bank stocks. And just having some sense that the government's now doing something and maybe we're going down a path towards where we're starting the process, that might be better than just the uncertainty of not knowing where we're going.
Yeah, well, I guess it wouldn't be better if we thought it was going to wind up where everybody's afraid it's going to wind up, right?
Yeah, but to Joe's point that he just made, a lot of these stocks that we're really worried about, they're pretty much priced at zero already.
Yeah.
What additional damage can we do from here? The S&P financials are off 45% in the first 6 weeks of this year. I think in some sense there's just not a lot of damage that is left to do. The scare has been so bad that we've already taken these stocks down to the nadir.
Yeah,
I'm with you, Paulson. I'm really on board with you now. It came to me last week. All I need to confirm my bullishness is Bouroudjian's got to really be bearish here.
Oh, you know what? We're going to a 600 S&P before we're all done. How about that?
Perfect.
All right? Does that make you bullish,
Yep.
Joe? Okay, there you go.
You're serious, right?
I am serious. I'm looking at a $60 earnings. I'm looking at about a 10 multiple, and that might be encouraging.
You're a total bull at 1,000 on the S&P.
Well, there was a reason to be. Now you've got a banking system in disarray. There's a reason to be negative for the short term. Look for the bottom to go down. Right now, you're looking for the market to reprice what's going on. And now they got a little bit of clarity, and that's what they're looking for.
Joe and I have had this debate.
Now you got Carl worried because he's negative.
No, I was saying something around that number. You saw Davidson say 6,000 down over the weekend.
I know. I don't. The one thing that's scary, Bouroudjian, is that you can put an S&P. You can come up with an S&P earnings number, Paulson, down at just a horrific number. And if you put a 7 or 8 on it,
it makes it even worse.
Yeah,
it makes it even worse.
Why not do that, Paulson?
Well, I don't see where any bear market prices the trough earnings
at 7 times
the lowest multiple.
Right.
I mean, typically, if you're going to take trough earnings, you price them at 20 times earnings.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's right.
I just think that's overly pessimistic, and I really think, Joe, that we've just sort of created this panic in the banks by the public discussion by our public officials. I mean, there's certain things you just can't talk publicly about. Just imagine if our public officials talked about closing the stock market for a week and they had a public debate for 2 months about it. This market would collapse, and that's exactly what they've done with bank stocks. I think if we just sort of slow down, and already Friday they're backing off this public commentary that they're going to nationalize, and people calm down a little bit, I think some of this bank scare could start to go away a little bit. And I think that's most what we're dealing with rather than a complete collapse.
I'll tell you what's scary.
Bouroudjian. Listen up.
What's scary, Jim, what's scary is that we continue to have a deleveraging consumer. Home prices are falling. Asset prices are falling. And the whole nationalization talk is just moving money around, man. I mean, there are still big problems. That's what Jack's pointing to.
Well, and not only that, but listen, you also have a government that's changed the rules on us. I mean, look, that's what Ricky was yelling about. You've got the short selling rule that they played havoc with completely hurt the market.
Yeah.
I mean,
and by the way, taxes are going up on capital gains and people with money.
Jack, I do agree with this one point you're bringing. I find it interesting. What's the best month that the financial markets have had since the TARP crisis? It was December, where the markets actually had a good month. And you got to ask yourself, why is that? And I think it's because that's the one month where the old leadership was so lame duck that they quit talking about and quit doing anything about the crisis.
Yeah.
And the new leadership wasn't yet in control, so they weren't talking about it or doing much. And guess what? The 1 month where we had policy officials and policy actions shut down, the markets did really well.
That's exactly
right.
And
as soon as we started to come back in, they've had trouble. Policy officials ought to take note of that and maybe think about the #1 rule of public service is first, do no harm. I think we're doing ourselves a lot of harm by too much chatter and too much action.
Here, here, let the free markets rule. You know what? If this was a market-driven problem, you need a market-driven solution. Let it go.
Geez, Bouroudjian, I cannot believe that now we can't count on you for silver lining anymore. I can't believe it. Can you believe it?
Give it time. Give it time. You know
it?
what? Another 6 months of this, and you know what? I'll be as bullish as you can possibly imagine if we get down to the right levels.
If we start going up and we get through some resistance levels and keep going, you cannot come back on here and talk like
well,
you're
if there's a reason for it,
you're going to have to eat crow.
Joe, you could see this administration do absolutely the right things over the course of the next few months.
Now you're just being an ideologue. You don't like Democrat. Now you've got GOP on your shirt. I mean, come on.
That's part of my first name. My first name is Haga. It's a good Armenian name.
That's your story. That's what you say.
Guys, thanks for that. I'll talk to you later, Jack and Jim Paulson.